it's such a simple idea. It's that as a leader, you can be a multiplier. And what that means is that you use your intelligence, your knowledge. Maybe it's your knowledge of medicine. Maybe it's your knowledge of the business. Maybe it's your knowledge of the patient, the market. You use that intelligence to amplify the intelligence of people around you. And as a leader, you become an amplifier or a multiplier of the intelligence of your organization. And the question that I want us to explore: what is possible if you could get access to all of the intelligence that already sits inside your organization? People that you've already recruited, you've trained, you've hired, you've paid. What could you do if you could get access to all of that intelligence? What hard problems could you go after? Could you provide, better care at a lower cost? Let me start with the logic. The logic of the multiplier is based in this idea of utilization. It's based in this idea of how deeply are we utilizing the intelligence of people around us. So it's about a kind of leader who gets more from the people around him or her. And they get more because they see their resources differently. They may look out at their organization, again, whether it's a 5,000-person provider organization or a work team of 5, and they see that people are working extraordinarily hard. They see that people are busy. They see that people are even overworked. But they don't confuse this with how well utilized they are. It's one of the dirty little corporate secrets we don't talk about much, is that a lot of us are crazy busy, attached to our digital devices. Can't had what, two? Attached to our devices, we're busy. But so many are secretly bored. In the end, in the marketplace, the organizations that win are the ones that can tap into the greatest number of brains. It's a numbers game. CK helped me see that the fundamental role of leader is shifting. It's shifting from one of knowing, of seeing, of directing, of telling, of answering, and it's shifting to one of accessing, unleashing, harnessing the intelligence and capability of people around you. Maybe it's a subtle shift. Maybe this is a radical shift that's happening. Him and the rest of the executive team go to work. They deliver that $10 billion number with virtually no additional headcount in that organization. How do they do it? By working people harder? Absolutely not. They did it by deeply leveraging the knowledge that already sat inside their organization. They had already had this gluttony of hiring. And now it was time to utilize it more deeply. And the reason why they weren't able to bridge their logic is, the sales executive is up here with the logic, what I call the logic of addition. More output, you need more input, more revenue, more expense. You want me to get this project done, I need people. As Christy mentioned, I grew up at Oracle in sort of the times of plenty where you wanted to get something done, you just hired people and you threw bodies at a problem. Those days are over. Those days are over, and now most of us are managing in far more austere times, trying to figure out how to deliver better output, better care at a lower price point. So this is the logic: deeply utilizing the intelligence of others, getting access to a lot of brains, and scaling in new economic times. How do we get more out of what we've already got inside of the organization? The multiplier, the mindset is people are smart and they're going to figure it out. How would you manage if you believed that the people who work for you or around you are smart and are going to figure it out? What would you do? They tend to be magnets. They identify people's genius, they put it to work, and they become magnets for talent. They tend to be liberators. They create space for other people to think. I give you space. What do you give me? Your best thinking. It's almost like they demand it. They're sort of relentless about it. They're challengers. They stretch people and they make people uncomfortable. They're debate makers and they're investors. They give ownership and accountability to others. It's like John Chambers, CEO of Cisco. He hired his first vice president. He said, Doug, when it comes to this part of the business, which was customer support, you get 51% of the vote. I'll hold 49, but you get 100% of the accountability. Okay? But how do you operate when your boss just gave you 51% of the vote? You're an owner. You know that in the end you are in charge, but you're probably going to consult. Absolutely. Most of us are on a spectrum somewhere in between, with a lot of us being the accidental diminisher. What's the accidental diminisher? You don't realize you're doing it, and you end up having a diminishing effect with the very best of intentions. These are good managers who care about their people, often following simply just popular management practice, best practice. In some ways, best practice is the enemy of the multiplier, and they have a diminishing effect. I want to leave you with an essential multiplier practice. It's the art of asking great questions. We find it's what multipliers do. They ask the questions that focus the energy and intelligence of their organization. If I were trying to populate an organization full of multipliers, I would hire and screen for intellectual curiosity. It's at the root of a lot of what multipliers do. It's at the root of asking great questions. Kent talked about IDEO. Tim Brown, CEO of IDEO, says, as leader, probably the most important role we play is asking the right questions and focusing on the right problems. It's very easy in business to get sucked into being reactive to the problems and questions that are right in front of you. It doesn't matter how good the answer you come up with. If you're focusing on the wrong questions, you're not providing the leadership you should.